Rings of Power Season 3 has finally, officially, been greenlit for production by Amazon. This news comes fresh off of the disastrous viewership report. It was just over a week, I think, that the Illuminate data for 2024 was revealed, and Rings of Power Season 2 lost 60% of its viewership from Season 1, and even Season 1 lost 63% over the course of Season 1 in viewership. So this is definitely a disastrous pattern of a decline in storytelling quality and thus a decline in viewership. But fresh off of that news, Amazon now decided to officially greenlight Season 3 for production. And this is an article by Eric Kane. He's covered the episode reviews and he's covered the news around this too, so I like going to him for coverage. This is an article from Forbes, some good news and some bad news for the Rings of Power Season 3 as new details emerge. Amazon has officially renewed the Rings of Power for a third season. That's good news if you're a fan of the series or a content creator who covers the series. It's bad news if you're a Tolkien fan who thinks the series is a stain on the legacy of Middle-earth. Yeah, good news and bad news. One thing that I really did love about this whole debacle was Charlie Hopkinson's parody videos that he did. Those were so funny. He does impressions of Gandalf and Elrond and Boromir. It just does his reactions and his impressions while watching the episodes, and that was the best part of that. That became appointment viewing for me. So that's good news in that respect. But yes, bad news if you, like many Tolkien fans, view it as a stain on the legacy of Middle-earth. While I think The Rings of Power is a genuinely terrible TV series, I have a lot of fun writing about it and making videos for my YouTube channel. While I think the show is a garish display of profligacy and an amateurish adaptation of Tolkien's work, I very much enjoy discussing the many ways The Rings of Power fails at its task. Don't get me wrong, I'd vastly prefer it were a great fantasy show that I could enjoy watching and writing about. But I'll take all 5 seasons if Amazon will shell out hundreds of millions to keep providing us with this unintentional comedy, and I suspect they will, as it's largely a sunk cost at this point. In any normal circumstances, this show would have been canceled. It definitely does seem to confirm that they are sticking to that contract. What we all thought from the beginning was that Amazon had reached a deal with the Tolkien estate for 5 seasons or 50 hours of content. So we never even had this doubt. The only reason why we started to have doubt for a Season 3 renewal was because of the showrunners themselves. We heard straight from their mouths on the red carpet for the premiere of Rings of Power Season 2 that they didn't know. And the show premiered last September, and no official word for months. They seem to be dancing around it, and I don't know if there was a reason for that, but very unusual in their handling of the PR around it. Maybe they were working out details as far as the budget goes, and maybe they had to get some stuff under control for spending, for any further production to go forward, because already it seemed like spending was way out of control. And then when you see the viewership reports of 60% decline in viewership, any other show gets canceled yesterday. So very, very unusual. The PR email that went out for the show's renewal is very interesting. It spends a lot of time talking about the 3 directors of Season 3, which is now being filmed in the UK. Quote, additionally, we are announcing 3 directors, 2 returning and 1 new, the announcement reads. Charlotte Brandstrom, Sanaa Hamri, and Stefan Schwartz will be a part of this season. The globally successful series, which has attracted over 170 million viewers worldwide, continues to be one of Amazon's strongest drivers for new Prime membership signups. Again, this is very interesting wording because it's always been noted in regards to Amazon that they never reveal what they constitute as a viewer. They never reveal like how many minutes the show has been watched. We have no context for what they deem a viewer. This is just coming from them, and I just find it odd that only now, after it's been revealed what the actual viewership numbers were, with that 60% decline, now they're saying, oh, we have 170 million viewers, and it is one of the strongest drivers for new Prime membership signups. The way they dance around the fact that people aren't really watching, we can't even verify this, this is just all of Amazon's internal data, is the most important thing not the views themselves, because clearly they're not watching it. It's been a huge drop-off, an embarrassing amount of this decline in viewership. The fact that they don't say, oh, it's one of the most popular shows. Well, they can't say that because that's not true, clearly. So this definitely seems to be a PR stunt right after that disastrous viewership report. Because initially, when Jennifer Salke made the comments, oh, well, this is a business, she didn't officially renew season 3, but she kind of said that there's tons of people engaging with it, kind of dancing around it again, that people weren't really watching. But those were in statements to buyers for ads. It wasn't a fan event or anything like that to promote their show. And this just reeks of more of that speak. That's not really speaking to us, the audiences, potential audiences, or fans. It's more just to assure their sponsors and people who are buying ads for them on their platform. The PR announcement continues, and it went on to describe all of the past credits for the directors. So there's this long list of a resume for all of the directors' past experiences. Then at the very end of the announcement, we get a tiny little line about the showrunners. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is produced by showrunners and executive producers J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. I think it's hilarious that you have this huge long list of resume for the various directors, and you just have this one line for J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. The most important job, which is the writer, producer, showrunners, don't have a resume. This is their only job they've gotten in an official writing and showrunning capacity. This is the only thing on their IMDb page. As the writer of this article points out, it's just curiouser and curiouser. All 3 directors get portraits and bios to go along with the press release, but that's all we hear about the series' showrunners. Amazon also revealed a time jump for the 3rd series. This is their social media post from the official Lord of the Rings on Prime account, jumping forward several years from the events of Season 2. Season 3 takes place at the height of the War of the Elves and Sauron as the Dark Lord seeks to craft the One Ring that will give him the edge he needs to win the war and conquer all Middle Earth at last. Also, right off the bat, it's hilarious to introduce a time jump of several years when they've completely butchered the time frame of this entire age. The Second Age, 3,400 years of stories have been condensed into a few years. Not only is there this huge compression of time, everything is out of order. And we also have events from the Third Age sprinkled in there as well. As season 2 progressed, it was really hard to get your sense of the passage of time. I think the Dwarven rings were made off screen. When we're coming back after the end of one episode, we're jumping back to Eregion and the dwarves. The Doors of Durin were already made and they're having this celebration, and the rings themselves, all of that stuff just happened off screen. So we have no idea how much time just passed, but now they're all friends with the dwarves and they're having all these good relations. Like, we never saw that. The sense of time is really all over the place, and especially everyone's fast traveling around. So I think it's laughable now that they're saying, oh, we're jumping forward in time. And Eric Kane says the same thing. It's very funny because the show has condensed several thousand years of Tolkien's Second Age of Middle-earth into one very brief time span. So I'm not sure how jumping ahead several years really matters at this point. Time is essentially meaningless in a show that has already discarded chronology, makes flagrant use of fast travel, which not only impacts our sense of time, but also geography, making Middle-earth feel small. That's one of the biggest issues with this show, is there is no sense of scale or time. People are just instantly there at locations. I think Elrond went back and forth between Eregion and Khazad-dûm in an afternoon. Back and forth. He's there. I think this was in their initial pitch. The showrunner specifically wanted to cover all of Arda. We want to cover all of it. But in so doing, you've made it so small. And that's one of the most important parts of this universe itself, this story and mythology. He ends this by saying, I have very little faith that season 3 will be any better than the last 2, and I fully expect to see even lower viewership numbers. Season 2 already saw a huge drop from season 1's ratings, and this almost certainly means we'll see a further drop in season 3 and beyond, should Amazon continue to renew this massively expensive disappointment. And you know what? There were many people who had a little bit of encouragement from the trailer for season 2. They thought, oh, maybe they're trying to course correct a bit. It looked darker. It looked more foreboding and epic. But in reality, as it unfolded, it was amateurish and took every opportunity to bastardize Tolkien's characters and stories. Honestly, I think it drove away the last of the people that were just still holding on for hope that this could be good. Let me pull up that actual graph. So the top bar here is minutes watched for Rings of Power Season 1. And below that is the viewership for Season 2. So massive drop in viewership. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. The Rings of Power on verge of Season 3 renewal by Amazon. And it even says that while showrunners Payne and McKay were prepping the next season story-wise, the lack of an official green light has been a source of speculation and concern among fans, because the second season was ordered years before the first season even premiered. So it was very unusual, if this was such a popular show, that you wouldn't just immediately renew it. So I do think that because of the timing of this news of the Season 3 renewal, it definitely just seems that it was done purely for the advertisers' sake and not for the fans at all. They probably were like, what's the deal? You told us it was, again, they were very careful in their words. We're not going to tell you what a viewer is, but it's our top driver for memberships. It's interesting too, because she did say specifically that this is a business. So this is an article from Screen Rant covering this, and this came out at the same time, October of last year, 2024. And she reiterated that she was sticking to their commitment of the 50-hour amount of content that they were going to produce. And this is her full statement. Obviously, the Rings of Power Season 2 had very different marketing levels and all of that to Season 1. But that being said, over 55 million people at this point have engaged since Season 2 launched. And if you look at the long-term trajectory, which is how this company looks at an asset like that, this is a long-term investment in that franchise. There's well over 150 million viewers watching and engaging with the show. So I feel really good. I think we all do. And again, they decline to reveal what a viewer is, but as far as the numbers and positivity that they touted in the past, does not align with these comments. So she continues regarding if there will be any change to Amazon's 50-episode or 50-hour commitment. I don't think so. That commitment is never the thing that's driving what we're doing. We'll continue to make the show as long as we see global customers loving it and watching it, to the point where, and she is cut off there, then she continues, it is a business. Obviously, we need a large amount of people showing up. And there are a large amount of people. So there's no debate about whether or not the show will continue. This just seems so disingenuous now that we know what the actual reality is in terms of actual views. Very suspicious, considering why didn't you officially greenlight it then? If it was so popular and it was such a hit with people, why didn't you officially greenlight it months ago? That was another thing too that she said in her comments, that they were building infrastructure. That was one of the reasons why Season 1, its spending was so high, which was $1 billion almost. That is an insane amount of money to spend on, what was it, 8 episodes? And then in Season 2, they moved studios. They're having to build all new sets and different locations that they're having to film in. So all the infrastructure that you built for Season 1 that was apparently supposed to last 5 seasons, well, what happened to that? So I'm sure that Season 2's production spending was through the roof again. And it only makes sense because you have 2 incredibly inexperienced showrunners at the helm. But they definitely have the money to burn. And if this is contracted out, okay, definitely a ton more opportunities for entertainment for us in other ways. But I'm curious to know what you think of Rings of Power Season 3 finally getting the green light. Is Amazon stuck in a sunk cost spiral too deep to turn back? And why do you feel this announcement took so long to come out? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, you can leave a super thanks or join as a YouTube member for early access to new videos and other perks. You can also check out my Patreon page for exclusive content. Thank you all so much for your support. And as always, have a very nerdy day.